sure whether you want to stand up or so. Just to remind you, there was hands up. So there was Stefano and team. There was Besad and team and Syed as well. And just while you're thinking about your questions, and will be second, I just wanted to let you know that at 3:10 this afternoon, there will be afternoon tea with action. And if you look over the page, because we'll be ready for a bit of action then, we've got Aldo Ameti here from Griffith University as well, and we'll be getting your ideas, the experts in the room's ideas, when you would have seen everyone's presentations today, from collection to treatment to end use and so on, everyone's ideas of what might be drivers, what might be barriers to actually operationalising and really scaling up urine collection and diversion and reuse. So get ready for afternoon tea with action later on today. Let's start with the first question, please.
Hi, my name's Jordan. I work at the Resource Stewardship team at ISF, at the Institute for Sustainable Futures, and I'm also about to take a PhD with the NiCE program. In regards to the CBA that you're going to be undertaking, I'm just wondering, one of the issues with CBAs is capturing the environmental and social externalities and measuring those. So I'm wondering what kind of methodology you're using in regards to that. We did a project recently with the Queensland Department of Environment and Science. We looked at the cost-benefit analysis that was done of their container deposit scheme, and we kind of came up with a framework. So it'd be interesting to kind of share that knowledge. But I'm just kind of wondering how you're looking to tackle kind of measuring those externalities.
That's a very nice question, and I'm happy to hear about your framework. We'll be definitely talking to you regarding the kind of. We are more interested in the people's social preferences and social values, and that's where we will be trying to capture the non-market aspects of these projects. And that there are standard techniques like survey-based techniques as well as market analysis data that we will be able to use. Regarding the physical impact or physical externality impacts of these projects, if there is, that for those we have to rely on the other teams like who will be collecting those data. Yes, but the social aspects, that's what we will be using primary data collection based method. Yeah.
Sorry, I have one more question for the gentleman about soil. I'll hijack. In regards to the sustainable soil stabilisation, I'm not quite sure you're looking at general kind of cement, but realising that a lot of cements in the future, it seems like the construction industry is becoming the dumping site, whacking in tyres, plastics into our cement to reduce GHG emissions. How are you looking at how those kind of different cements are going to impact your project as well? If you are, I'm not sure.
Sure. I think this is just one alternative we are creating. So addition of other waste products like rubbers and so on, it is there, but doesn't necessarily increase the strength. It may add extra benefits for damping and so on. That's the addition of rubber. But this one is a solid way, and because it creates a cement, I guess most of the infrastructure designers and regulators, they're very familiar with it. New products such as rubber, still this is more in the research phase, right? So I tend to say this will be much easier to implement it compared to other non-traditional waste, and it's just in the pool. My short answer is just a pool that people need to compare. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anne?
Just a very quick one from me. So we heard this morning that Stefano, you were talking about different lower tech options, like if we can get away with doing less treatment and it's safe. I'm assuming that your models would be able to, once you build a framework, we can test different cost-benefit analyses alongside the safety and stuff. So I'm just flagging that that's a useful thing we can work on.
Yeah, I hope so too. There is one thing, especially when you talk about these non-market intangible kind of benefits, is that the system has to be at a certain scale. Otherwise, we do not see any impact on a very small scale, because people will not react to that, because they will not see, they will not notice. So that is a certain scale assumption that we have to make, right? Because otherwise, if there is only 10 visitors in a year, that's not going to make any difference, right? $10, $5, so that's not going to make difference. Yeah, so there is an issue there.
Can I add? I think there's going to be an interaction between social acceptance and technology, because although we can show, the stuff doesn't go into the carrots, but the farmers and the consumers, are they going to believe that? Are we going to be able to say in all possible scenarios, this is the case? If we have a little bit of resistance or hesitance, it's not going to happen. If we have a system where we can control and we can produce data to generate confidence, that's probably what we need, even though it is not strictly needed from the point of view of safety. Just as a side.
Yep. And it's getting that data and then it's disseminating it too, isn't it? In a digestible way for consumers. Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you, Aaron from UQ. One question for Stefano. Are you going to look at greenhouse gas emissions in your experiments?
You are. So let me introduce to everyone this collaboration between University of Melbourne and UQ. We're going to do some of the greenhouse gas analysis with a group of Liu at the University of Queensland. And so we don't have that capability, but we believe that there's going to be an impact on greenhouse gas emissions. The moment we take nitrogen out of sewers, particularly we have less nitrogen that goes through the nitrification, denitrification process. So we expect there's going to be possible improvements, reduction of GHG emissions, but something that we're looking forward to try.
Yeah, maybe we can have an offline chat. And the second question, I'm very interested in your new campus and the MBR plant. I wonder, firstly, how did you persuade the leadership team to approve such proposal? And how do you do that? I always hope that UQ can have such facility.
So there was a call for living lab applications. We submitted a proposal for a water resilience living lab, water resilience and livability, something like that. And this includes not only this, there's going to be green roofs, there's going to be rainwater tank, stormwater collection. So it's going to be a holistic water living lab, and wastewater is part of it. So we're going to separate the black water from the yellow water, and we're going to generate fertilizer from the urine and generate purified recycled water from the remainder of the wastewater. Obviously, there's a huge amount of approvals involved. I mean, this has been going on for almost 2 years. So if you're going for it, you're in for a big effort.
Right, that's really fascinating. And one last question for Pala. The biocement idea is really fascinating. And I wonder what's the gas permeability of this biocement, if it does block gas, like your application to landfill, etc., would that block the emission of like methane, etc., from landfill, and then effectively act as like a carbon capture sequestration technology?
It's a very good question. Obviously, this will impact the permeability. I tend to say it will reduce permeability. But I say it should come to that sweet spot that it becomes strong and permeability is not reduced significantly. I don't think necessarily for landfill this will become a big issue, because generally the permeability of landfill is very high. You know, like we have this gas collection system, because you have got a capping on top and it gets it, so means more or less gas is everywhere. right? But for other types of materials, it can be a bigger issue for clays or so on, but already it's there. It's a very good question. To be honest, we haven't gone that far to look at that because we are more interested about the strengths. But I can see there is a good point there. But I think that probably the impact won't be so much, but I don't have any evidence to tell you that. But that's, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good one.
Thanks for those questions. Dan? I'm not sure if that microphone's working, so.
I'll try and use my natural mic.
Yes.
Let me know if you can't hear me. Yeah, I don't think this is working either. Is there
It's working.
Okay.
Yeah, it's working.
Oh, okay. Sorry. There you go. Question for Said and Gam's research around whether you've chosen your case study sites yet, and if so, assuming that there's sites, like will they be, city, a specific, city or community or whatnot, and how you're going to choose those, because obviously the results of your CBA will be very dependent on local conditions. And will you, for example, intentionally use case study sites, like what Abe showed, the Cape Cod example, where you could demonstrate in those kind of hotspot conditions, the huge avoided costs of not having to connect to the sewer, for example, or so just if you could talk a bit more about your case studies and how that might play out in demonstrating different CBA results.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, we have not. We'll run an auction to go to the highest bidder. Just kidding. This is something we'll work collaboratively with the leadership team of ARC as well as other industry stakeholders. So we already have got industry funding, a small amount. So I think that's more for the primary stage, but they will be expecting at least one case study in Brisbane because they already have put in some money, 15,000 or something. But but then otherwise this one is quite well advanced. Your case study also is quite advanced. We have this planning stage. So it depends on like the availability of data. But I'm quite well aware of the issue that you have raised. Yes, the performance would be quite local context specific, and that's where the sensitivity analysis part would be very important for us and do a robust analysis on that. Yes.
I anticipate we'll work quite closely together with the PhD students on this. You guys get cross collaboration. Any other questions?
If I can add a comment, I just remember about your question. I think this technique we want to use for landfill is for old closed landfills. It's not for fresh new landfills, right? Because that degrades so much. So, and generally those landfills already the gas gone down a lot. So for fresh landfills, we like to extract methane. For something which is 30 or 50 years old, that's a bit of less of a concern. But I'd like to talk to you more on that. I think that's another aspect to consider.
Yeah, maybe new application.
Yes.
I was going to suggest, because we have a few minutes left and this session is about urine collection, maybe we should give an update on regulation or how well we're trailing with influencing regulation and obtaining different types of approvals. And we have 3 nodes, so maybe we can do an introduction for each of the nodes. But for those who don't know the story, in Australia, plumbing codes are state-based, so each state has their own plumbing codes. They all refer to the same standards at the national level, but they are written different ways. So, and there's different pathways for obtaining these approvals. So it's really giving us a little bit of a headache. I don't know how it's like in the US, but certainly it's not something that we are moving very fast on. But there is definitely some movement there. So the idea is if we're going to just go off-site and have a composting toilet, we are actually allowed to collect urine and do whatever we want with it, because that's not the plumbing system. The moment you plumb into the sewer, or if you call something a toilet, then you must send that waste into sewer, otherwise you're not compliant. You won't find a single plumber in Australia who's going to install it for you, because it's in breach of the plumbing code. And so we're working either on exemptions at the moment, or a path towards what is called watermark. So watermark is the certification of toilets and associated pipework that just basically tells plumber, you're good to go, you can install this, because it has been shown to work safely. So, all right, Brisbane node. Maybe Cara is the best person to give a brief update. Yeah, but
Yeah, so brief update with the Brisbane node. We've had some really good collaboration with our state government and local government folks. So and also urban utilities. We've got Matthew Mullis in the room, and he's been from urban utilities in Brisbane, so the water and waste guys there, and they've been working really well with all of the stakeholders. So now we're up to a point where I think they're changing a couple of sentences within the code to allow an exemption for research purposes for the Brisbane application, the Brisbane installation of the urine diversion toilets and the collection, which has been really good. It's taken a long time, but I think what's really helped is that the willingness of the stakeholders, particularly the state government stakeholders, so Queensland Health and Queensland Energy and Public Works and the plumbing and wastewater guys, have actually been willing to see this as innovative and not some crazy idea. They're seeing it as a when this is going to happen in the future, not an if. I think the Olympics in Brisbane's kind of helped them think, well, let's be a bit greener and more innovative and so on. But they could so easily, I did something about 20 or so years ago similar to this in Currumbin Eco Village, and they were much more reticent then. So 20 years on, they're really, we're working really well. So what we've probably only got the time it takes for the minister to be briefed, and he may or may not be happy with it, and there'll be a bit of back and forth, but I think we're really confident that we'll be able to install those systems really well. But it would be really interesting to hear from our New South Wales counterparts or Victorian.
and we've been going at it only for 2 years or 3.
About 2-ish, yeah. But it's only been official. The NiCE sub's only been official since November last year, so it's not even been a year.
So,
No, look, it's slow, but it's just that ongoing relationship building, really. That's pretty much what's got us to where we've got, I think.
so to show how states work differently, in Victoria, things have been moving at a much faster pace, using a very different approach. And Southeast Water has been really helpful there, particularly Paul at Southeast Water. And there's basically one piece of paper that has to be submitted. So that's greatly different. In Queensland, we need to amend the regulation to name the project and the project partner. And in Victoria, we just need to submit one form which will give us the exemption. Lee, do you have anything more detailed than this? Because this is roughly what I know.
I guess, just probably like you said, it's a different approach from state to state. And what I understand from my colleague is in Victoria, it's relatively, I guess, a relatively fast process, but but we still need to go through the process and understand how it goes. Yeah. But I understand, for example, our system will still actually need two parts of the assumption. One is the plumbing part, and another one is if we use a new, let's say, urine diversion toilet, we also need to get a watermark exemption. So basically, 2 exemptions are required.
Yes, long term is the holy grail to have this watermark certified, and then basically we can use it as we wish. This goes for toilets, and those realistically will be watermarked because they're already used in other countries. The Laufen and the Worstman models, there's no reason to believe they won't be, but I think they want to watermark also the modular solutions that we implement to treat, and that's going to take a much longer time. For the Sydney node, I know you got these urinals installed in this building already for 10 years, so you're the most experienced, except that those people who actually were here at the time have left. So, Sean, you need to seek further approvals?
Definitely, we need to look at more, we are collecting urine and then try to processing and then convert to fertilizer. So you need to sell this fertilizer. So definitely you need to take out your urine, and then you need to some specific like a bromine code, and then you need to process technology, and then you need to also put into the container your urine and as a fertilizer. So exemption of the resource recovery for circular economy, EPA, they are doing like a biosolid. Even biosolid, they need a lot of approval procedure because of PFAS or heavy metal as well as micropollutant inside the biosolid. So exactly same as our urine, we have also some kind of EPA approval procedure we have to go through for the exemption of the resource recovery. So that's the specific, the EPA, they are taking care of nowadays, the resource recovery related approval procedure. So that's the process of the certification of our urine fertilizer. So we have to go through how we can utilize. So there are several steps EPA proposed how you can utilize as a SDS safety data set. So we need to go through that kind of procedure. So also I'm sure that Dana, she has something to say for based on your experience of the collection of the adults there, right?
Yeah, I wish I could. I think I was in Sweden, so Dina would be able to answer that, but she is no longer with us. She would exactly know, yes, around the plumbing code issues and the installation side of it. So I wasn't actually here.
Is she traceable?
What's that?
I think so, yeah.
I can
Next
try. Should I
year.
dial a friend right now?
Well, you do that and we'll have morning tea. I don't think there's any more questions, so thanks everyone, and yeah, have some morning tea at the back there.
Glad it was well received.
Yes.
Wasn't
Very, very. It was really comprehensive.
no longer say it.